Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to another Shiny Kiwi video. Now today, it's a really cool day. I finally have my first graded card return. Now, I'm actually not grading with PSA or Beckett. I'm grading with a company called Premier Card Grading. Now there's a few reasons for that. Recently I attended the New Zealand card show here in Wellington, New Zealand, and I met Rob Miller and Matt Rogers from Premier Card Grading. They explained what they were doing in the space and how they were basically becoming a global force to be reckoned with. They're now active in Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia, and even in the US. The quality of their grading is so good that they actually have managed to convince Rudy from Alpha Investments to buy majority shares in the US operation. Now, if you don't know who Rudy is, he has a YouTube channel called Alpha Investments. It's worth looking up. He's got a lot of insights into the market, especially in the US, and he is actually quite a renowned collector and seller of collectible trading cards. So someone that's got quite a lot of clout in the industry, and they've basically he now owns, or majority owns, Premier Card Grading in the US. So they're looking also to open services in Japan, which is an exceptionally hard market to get into, especially for grading cards. But if they are successful, then it wouldn't surprise me if they do become actually the default grading service for Japanese cards, which would be amazing. So with this in mind, it's only a matter of time now until Premier Card Grading cards become more accepted and the values attached to the cards and the grades are realized. So some other important, obviously, reasons for using PCG instead of PSA or Beckett is every card is double checked by two graders. And I know this is supposed to happen with PSA and Beckett as well, but sometimes you look at some cards that are graded 10s, especially from PSA, and you got to ask yourself, how the heck did that ever get a 10? And if it got double checked, what the hell were they smoking in the lunchroom during that day? So the quality of the grading is really important, and so the double check process is there. Then they audit their graders all the time to make sure that they are actually getting the same grades. So that's really important. Another thing is, I live in New Zealand. We're 10,000 kilometers away from the US, so in terms of a turnaround time on getting cards sent to PSA or Beckett, somewhere between 60 and 90 days. So it's 2 to 3 months worth of time before you actually get your cards back. And also your cards could get lost in the mail, which would be terrible. So there are some middlemen here in New Zealand that do that service, but in this case, I decided to go with PCG because they actually have a local branch here in New Zealand. It is actually a New Zealand made company. So turnaround on my cards is 2 to 4 weeks, which is a hell of a lot less than the 2 to 3 months that you get from PSA. Now, also, there's no upcharges on cards. There's simply an insurance claim of a maximum of, I think, $2.5 grand. So if anything happens in the process, or if anything happens at the grading service or in the mail, $2,500 is the ceiling. Although I was told that if you have higher ticket items, they are willing to take those under special circumstances, something like that. So, if you've got a first edition Charizard that you want graded there, I'm sure that they would be absolutely fine with that. You'd probably have to pay a premium for your grading, but that would be an exceptional circumstance. For just your run-of-the-mill cards, it's fine, and the pricing is competitive. It's $25 bulk rate, $35 just standard. That's pretty good. It's on par with PSA and Beckett, so there's that as well. And finally, they do subgrades. So for the categories that they grade the cards in, they do subgrades. PSA doesn't do it, Beckett does, but PSA doesn't. So I'm reluctant to send cards to PSA because you don't really know what an 8 is, like what made a card an 8 compared to a 10. The card's perfectly centered. if it's got like good corners and edges and everything, you say, okay, well, it's the surface, but you just have to take their word on that. And I mean, I've seen a video from Cool Trainer Ryan where he sent in like 100 cards, and almost every single one came back at 8. I think there was one 9, and it's almost like the guy at PSA just had one of those birds that was just going 8, 8, 8, 8, you know, and it just didn't really kind of seem like there was a lot of attention there. And I imagine that, you know, they're under a lot of pressure for getting a lot of cards graded, so I imagine there's a lot of times when they're just trying to make their quotas and they're just pushing buttons just to get, you know, the cards gone. So that was the main reasons why I have done this grading with PCG. Like I said, talking with Rob and Matt, I think that they are doing big things, and I have a lot of confidence that the values attached to their grades will eventually come to fruition, and I can avoid all of the time and effort sending cards to America. So anyway, I have some cards here that are graded from PCG. I'm super excited to have a look and see what grades they got. Unfortunately, I didn't do a video showing the cards before they got graded, but what I'll do is I'll try and hide the grades, and we can try and see what all of the different categories look like on the card beforehand, and I'll see if I can guess what they're going to be. I actually haven't looked at the grades, so this is going to be a complete surprise. All right, let's get into it. And here we are. Here's the package that got sent back to me. Here's the PCG logo up here, so I knew it was from them. And it was very nice that they did the signature required here. So you actually have to sign for the package as it's delivered at your house, because sometimes couriers just leave it at the letterbox or something. But for something that's, you know, high value, it's good that they do that. That's very appreciated, and obviously, you know, there's extra cost involved in that. Oh, look at that, we've got some bubble stuff. All right, let's take this all out. I don't mind it getting on me. Oh, look at this. Here we go. PCG, Premier Card Grading. It's a really nice touch there that they've actually done a special box for it. I know that sometimes like PSA and Beckett cards just come back with basically just like in a cardboard box with nothing on it. That's this looks very high quality. It's very cool. All right, I'm gonna try and open it. All right, I'm gonna try and make sure I don't see any grades before we. No, okay. Here we go. Some bubble. Okay. All right. I've seen. It doesn't have the grade on the back, does it? Okay. All right. So here we go. There's 4 cards. That's all I decided to do. I can't remember what cards I got done. It actually says it on the back here, so this will be the first one that we look at. Okay, so we've got a Leafeon VMAX from Evolving Skies. So this is the alternate art. Very cool. Okay, so I've never done a graded return before, so I'm a little bit nervous. All right, let's have a look first of all at the centering on the back here. Looks pretty good to me. There is a little bit more on this side than there is that side. I don't know if you can tell. So centering there might be a problem. Just looking at the corners here, corners look pretty good. If I had to guess, I would have said that the centering would probably be like a 9, just because it's a little bit off from left to right. The corners look really good, I'm not gonna lie. I can't see any issues there. No miscuts or anything on there. The edges also look very good. I'd say that the edges are probably, they're either 9.5s or they're 10s. So the only thing then is the surface on the front of the card. So let's have a look. All right, there it is right there. Let's see what the centering on the front looks like. Oh my goodness, why did I even bother? Okay, so the centering on the front here looks really bad. So it's quite hard to tell on an alternate art. On a VMAX where the centering is, because you only kind of get really like a guideline down here. You can't tell up the top here, guideline down here and guideline down here. That's really off. I think I submitted this just because I wanted it protected in a slab. So that to me looks like about an 8 for centering. And I'm guessing here, but the centering, the surface should be good, because it's a card that I pulled myself. and I put it straight into a sleeve, straight into a top loader. So I'm guessing that the surface would be at least a 9 or a 10. So I guess with all of that into account, if the edges are 10, the corners are 10s, the centering's an 8, and the surface is a 10, let's say it's gonna be about a 9. Okay, ready? Oh, there we go, 8.5 centering, 9.5 corners, 10, 10, and a 9, a mint 9. I wasn't too far off there actually, so the corner's got a 9.5. It's just really interesting that I'm just trying to see if there's anything on the corners that would give it that grade. Maybe just like a little bit of a miscut down on this one here, but that's about it. Okay, so 8.5 in centering, which I think is fair because that's well off. I thought that was about an 8. 9.5 for corners, 10 edges and 10 surface. So I'm happy with that. I think that's a pretty good grade. I wonder, how do you open this? Let's have a look. Okay, a little bit gumby here. Here we go. Okay, these slabs are really nice. Really, really nice. I'm really impressed with this. Okay, so PCG 9 for my Leafeon VMAX. Like I said, I think that's a fair grade. The centering's god awful on the front there, and it's a little bit off on the back. So an 8.5 I think is actually generous. So I'm happy with that 9. All right, here we go. We've got a Mewtwo V-Star from Crown Zenith, the Galarian Gallery. This is an absolutely beautiful card. I love this card. As soon as I saw it, it looked really, really good. This is a card that I submitted thinking it was a 10. So, you know, if you look at this, the centering on the back is pretty perfect. I couldn't see anything on the centering on the back that would cause any issues at all. It's perfectly centered. The corners, let's have a quick look here. That one looks okay. That one looks very good as well. Okay, corners are perfect. Well, at least they look to me perfect as well. Let's have a look on the front. Okay, as you can see, the centering is pretty much bang on here. I can't fault the centering. Centering looks great because I pulled this myself straight into a sleeve, straight into a top loader. I can't see there being any issues with the surface either. I didn't actually look at the edges. Let's have a look at the edges around here. Okay. Looks pretty good. I don't know how this wouldn't be a 10. Let's have a look. All right, so centering got a 9.5. That's, yeah, I don't know about that. I think that's a bit harsh. We got a 9.5 for corners again. Man, that's harsh. 10 and a 10. Okay, so we got a Gen Mint 10. Perfect. Okay, so I mean, this is what I'm looking for. I mean, you know, I'm still a bit mystified by the corners and the centering. I think the centering's pretty much bang on, but then again, you know, these guys have the equipment to check it perfectly, and you know, I'm not gonna argue with it. It looks pretty good. 9.5, 10 and 10. Gen Mint 10 for my Mewtwo V-Star. I'm pretty chuffed with that. Not gonna lie. You know, this is the equivalent of a PSA 10. So, well, you know, not yet, not in value because you know, PCG is a new company. But you know, in terms of the actual quality of the card, I'm sure if I submitted this to PSA, it would have been a 10. So I'm happy with the PCG 10 there. That's absolutely awesome. All right, now let's have a look and see what this next one is. Okay, so we've got Snorlax Level X. Okay, so we're heading into what I would term vintage. I mean, it's not really like vintage, but it's an older card. This is a really interesting, this is going to be a really interesting grade because this is a card that I actually bought off the secondary market. So I didn't pull this myself. Now, there's inherent issues with that. I'll actually just take it out of its sleeve just now. So there's inherent issues with buying on the secondary market. Generally, if a card's being sold on the secondary market, ungraded, raw, especially an old card, there's generally issues with it. Otherwise, it probably would be graded. I mean, it's a beautiful card. Part of the reason why I submitted this card was to get it protected. Snorlax is my favorite Pokemon of all time. As you can see back here, I've got Snorlax on the 151 Elite Trainer box. favorite of all time. This is probably one of the better Snorlax cards out there. So yeah, that right there, that big chunk there, that's gonna take it down to like a 6 or, oh no, I mean 7's like, a chip on the edges is, you know, 7 or 8, but like if there's like a crease or something in the card, that's like a 6 or a 5. So I mean that right there is just gonna bang it right down to like a 7. All right, let's have a look. Okay, beautiful card, beautiful card, Snorlax Level X. Now one problem with these cards also is that it's got a holographic border around it, which means that, you know, minute scratches on the surface, you're not going to notice them. And if this card's been handled a few times, it definitely will end up with scratches on it. Let's just have a look at the back again. I think the centering on the back is pretty good. Like, I got no complaints there. There's a little bit of whitening on the corners, so you know that's obviously going to take it down to like a 9 or an 8 for the corners. But otherwise centering looks pretty good, and I just saw centering on the front's actually really good as well. So I'd say centering is probably one of the better parts of this. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's a 9 on the centering. What's next? Corners, I reckon, would probably be an 8. Yeah. Okay, we're good so far. What's the next one? It's edges. Edges, yeah, I mean, I expect that to be like a 6 or a 7. 7.5, okay, with that big ding on it, that's actually pretty good. And what was the last one? The last one was surface. Okay, so this is the big question mark. So because it's from secondary market, and it's, I don't know who handled this card before it, and it's really hard to see minute scratches, especially on a fully holographic surround. I have absolutely no idea what the surface is going to be. Let's have a look. Surface is a 7. Okay, so overall we've got a 7.5. It's not a train smash. It's not bad, but I just feel like that big ding there really hurt the grade. Otherwise it would have been like an 8 or an 8.5. Oh man. Oh well, it is what it is. Like I said, I absolutely love this card. It's my favorite Pokemon of all time, Snorlax. Beautiful card, and I'm just happy that it's now protected in its case. It's got a grade of 7.5. Happy with that. All right, now the final card. Here we go. This is a card that I pulled myself. It's one of my favorite cards of all time. In fact, I'd actually go further. I'd say that this is my favorite card of all time. It's the original alt art, basically. This is the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends, also known as the Mewtwo card. All right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at these. Okay, the centering on the back looks pretty good. I think it's a little bit heavy on the top, there, but it's not too bad. Sides are looking really good. Corners, a little bit of whitening there. So let's say that's like a 9.5 or a 9. Centering looks pretty darn good. I'd say that's at least a 9.5. Here it is, the absolute beautiful card. How good is that? All right, so I can already see that it's quite off center on the front here, so that's probably going to ding it down to like a 9, I'd say. So overall, I think that this is probably looking like a 9 overall, just with all of those things taken into account. Let's have a look. Okay, so centering, a 9, perfect. That's exactly what I expected. What's the next one? The corners. Corners, there was a couple of little patches, so I'd say that it's probably a 9 as well. Okay, corners got a 10. Okay, there must be something that I'm not aware of in terms of the corner. It might be the way that the corner's actually cut. Also with a little bit of whitening, you might be able to get away with it. So that's a 10. That's awesome. What's next is the edges is a 9.5. Okay, that's fair. And surface. Now, because I pulled this myself and it went straight into a sleeve, I can't see it being anything lower than a 9. It has to be pretty up there. Let's have a look. 9.5. Okay, all right. So we got a gem mint 9.5 for the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends. Like I said, probably my favorite card of all time. It's just such a beautiful card. I actually have some more Shining Legends packs in my personal collection, and I'm just really like, holding myself back to open them and try and find another one. I know it's extremely rare to find these cards, especially this one, but I want more and more copies of this, and this particular card has exploded in price, so I mean, you kind of missed the boat on getting any more of them for a decent price. So yeah, I'm absolutely chuffed with that. And 9.5 for my YouTube. That's absolutely awesome. Okay, so to recap, we got some pretty darn good grades today. The Snorlax was a bit of a letdown, but I can totally understand where they're coming from in terms of the grades. Obviously that big ding on the edges was the main culprit, as well as the surface, which was something that I was worried about because it's a second-hand card rather than me having got it myself. Totally stoked with the Mewtwo V-Star here as a Gem Mint 10. That's what I thought it was when I pulled it. I thought it looked like a perfect card. Obviously there's a few little issues with centering and corners. I mean, it's pretty hard to get a perfect 10 out of 10, you know, for all the subgrades, and it should be hard, you know. That's an absolute perfect card, so you know, it's near perfect, and I'm happy with that. The Leafeon VMAX, like I said, pretty off center on the front there. That's why it got the 8.5 for the centering. Totally understand that. It's just a shame because, you know, that's the one thing that held it back from being a 10, but it is what it is. And of course, you know, your Mewtwo here, absolutely stunning card. Couldn't be happier. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. It's something a bit different. Obviously, I haven't had graded cards before. I'm hoping to do some more. I might do some you know, smaller value cards, like some illustration rares or something like that, because I think that illustration rares have a long way to go in terms of value, especially graded ones, some of the more popular Pokemon. So I might do a few illustration rares, a few more, you know, high ticket cards. But overall, you know, I'm just testing the waters with graded cards at the moment, and from, you know, my experience with this, I'm pretty happy. So I definitely will be doing more in the future. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit a like on the video. Subscribe to my channel for more opening videos. I'm going to be opening these 2 ETBs at some point, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, have a great week, and I'll catch you in the next video.